Rabbi Schudrich, Great Chief Rabbi of Poland, I want to thank you for your precious time and according us this interview. When we met for the first time in February 2014, I told you that I wanted to create the first Jewish open-air museum in Europe, in Radomsko, which is a very beautiful city at equal distance between Warsaw and Kraków. That meant to transform the whole city into a Jewish museum, and instead of entering a building, you simply walk in the city and you discover, actually through describing plates, where were all the Jewish institutions, such as the synagogues, of course the many shtibler, and the kosher restaurants and hotels, the Jewish political parties, the Jewish libraries, the Jewish schools, the Jewish firms, everything and much more. That means 50 Jewish buildings through 13 kilometers. That might be the biggest Jewish open-air museum in the world. You immediately accepted to support the project and to become a member of honor of Yiddele memory, which I thank you again for.
My pleasure.
And please tell us what decided you to fully support this project, and as you already attended our museum in Radomsko at least 3 times.
There were several reasons. One of the rabbis who was most important to me in my life, Rabbi Besser Zatzal, was a Radomsko Chassid. And I always heard about Radomsk from him. I went to Radomsk once with him, maybe twice. So immediately when I heard Radomsko, I said, this is something I'm interested in. The other reason, the concept of having an open-air museum is a fascinating one. It's one that's going to bring Jewish life to life. It's not just museums inside a building are important, but here you're walking and you're seeing really not as if where they lived, as if where they prayed, as if where they studied, but you're seeing the places. There's that much more real, and it's that much deeper sense of connecting to the past. And that was the second reason. The third reason was your enthusiasm. That's always important. When I see someone coming in with a plan and enthusiasm, then I'm much more likely to support it. And those are the 3 reasons.
Thank you. Now let's speak about the diaspora. Just like me a few years ago, and as a daughter of survivor of Radomsko, I always said that I would never ever come to Poland, that my feet will not touch this ground. Baruch Hashem, life decided something else, and after meeting Professor Elie Wiesel and Stephen Smith in New York in September 2011, and they both strongly advised me, and amazingly with the same words, to go to Poland. So I accepted, and 4 days later I came to Warsaw, to Łódź actually, to be precise, and on the next day I was already in Radomsko and discovered everything. I can only say I've come home. Jestem w domu. I never imagined that 3 years later, of course, we would open the Kesselman Museum together on this ground. We know that many Jews of the diaspora are totally reluctant to come to Poland because of the Holocaust. And what I discovered in Poland 4 years ago was not only the sad memories, but actually the rich Jewish past and the vibrant Jewish community that exists today, mainly thanks to you. And I had the pleasure to also meet many amazing non-Jewish Poles that are very enthusiastic about the Jewish culture and who contribute to perpetuate our memory. So could you elaborate on what is Jewish life today in Poland? And do you agree to encourage Jews of diaspora to come to visit Poland, a safe and beautiful country?
September 1st, 1939, World War II begins. At that point, there are 3.5 million Jews living here in Poland, the heart, the soul of the Ashkenazi world, over 10% of the general population. There was no other Jewish community that played such a major role in a country as in Poland. Only 5 years later, by the end of 1944, 90% of the 3.5 million Jews no longer alive, having been murdered by Germans and accomplices. That statement is so horrific. Most people don't think, well, how many Jews survived? 10% did survive. 10% of 3.5 million is 350,000. There were still 350,000 Jews in Poland after the war. Where are they today? The vast majority of Polish Jewish survivors leave Poland in the 25 years after World War II. If you want to feel safe saying the statement, I am a Jew, it makes good sense to leave post-Holocaust, Soviet-occupied, communist Poland. And so the majority of the Jews leave. But not all the Jews leave. And the Jews that stayed, many of them were in agreement that those who left stay Jewish, leave communist Poland. Stay in communist Poland, stop being Jewish. A couple 100,000 leave, some tens of thousands stay, of which most of them decided not to be Jewish, often not even telling their children and grandchildren that they were ever Jewish. And this deep, dark family secret stays a secret from 39 to 89, 1989, communism falls. For the first time in 50 years, these not so young survivors are now confronted with the question, is it safe enough for me to tell my children, grandchildren, friends, colleagues, neighbors that I'm really Jewish? And over the last 26, 27 years, thousands and thousands, and perhaps it's even tens of thousands of Poles have discovered their Jewish roots. And that's really the story of Polish Jewry today. One of discovery, the one of the blessing of democracy, the one of Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. You don't never stop being Jewish, even if you don't know it.
Right.
And that's a very important element of what's going on today. But in addition, you have the non-Jews. The non-Jews who, the Jews and the non-Jews here in Poland were living next to each other for nearly 1,000 years. Sometimes better relations, sometimes worse relations, sometimes horrible relations. But there was one thing that always was a constant until 1939. It was a daily, normal event. Jewish, non-Jewish relations in Poland until World War II were a daily, natural event. And then came World War II, came the German occupation. And that normal day-to-day contact ceased to exist in a normal way. And even under the communists, it was no longer normal. You couldn't really easily find a book about Jews. You couldn't find a lecture about Jews, a movie, something, a play.
Right.
And then that all changed with the blessing of democracy. And Poland has real democracy since 1989. And so people who had heard, non-Jews, who had heard something about Jews for 50 years, 39 to 89, but now have an opportunity actually to read a book, see a play, go to a lecture.
Festival Singer, for instance.
So Festival Singer, the Krakow Jewish Festival, and also in smaller places, in Bialystok, in Chmielnik, in many places.
And now?
Radomsko. You know, first and foremost in Radomsko. For Polish non-Jews, it's also been a journey. It's been a journey discovering what roles Jews have played in Poland for nearly 1,000 years, contributing to culture, to literature, to economy, to academic life, intellectual life, every aspect, even the military.
Right.
And so it was a discovery. And some of them, after discovering the Jews, the roles the Jews played, felt that they have a responsibility. We no longer have Jews in our town. We don't have Jews in our city. So it's up to us to remember Jewish memory, Jewish patrimony, doing the Jewish festival, preserving the cemetery, the synagogue, different places, different expressions. And it's a very honest, positive, new phenomenon that we have here in Poland. And then there's another aspect, and that is Europe today is facing a very challenging time, especially in the last just few months, the increase of terrorism in places like Nice, Paris, Brussels, London.
Yes.
It's parts of Scandinavia. It's horrible. And yet here in Poland, ironically, not ironically,
Yes.
we don't have that.
No, we don't feel this.
And God willing, it'll stay that way. But for a variety of reasons, those tensions don't exist here in Poland. And so, for a Jew thinking about coming to Poland, if you want to come to a place where Judaism flourished for 1,000 years, if you want to come to a place where also you want to pay tribute to the worst destruction of Jews in history, and if you want to come to a place where, in spite of the destruction, a small but growing vibrant Jewish community is struggling and working to rejoin the Jewish world and Judaism. And if you want to see those things, then Poland is the place to come. And if you want to come to Poland, then the best place to visit is Radomsko.
Thank you.
Because there you could walk the streets and you could immediately see where Itzik had his store, where Yankel studied in the Cheder, and where Rivkele went to daven. These are all places you could see, which you can't see it anywhere else in Poland. I don't know if there's another place in Europe you could see that.
Rabbi Schudrich, how do you see the development and the future of the Kesselman Museum, and how should it be developed?
The way the museum should develop is, first of all, very important that it's done with consensus, bringing in the local population, Radomskos from around the world, the local Jewish community. Let everybody discuss it together. But clearly, I see two major aspects. One is that more people should visit. This is a unique place in Poland, in Europe. Come see it. See what Jewish life was like before the war. Walk the streets. Touch the pavement. And that's one thing. More people, clearly.
Yeah.
And as this project grows, what also will be a wonderful addition would be to have the shtibel where the Radomsko Rebbe, the first Shlomo, davened, where he prayed, to bring it back to be part of this experience.
Yes.
A museum at Radomsko is an opportunity for people to learn, for Jews to learn about Radomsko, and for non-Jews to learn about Judaism. It reminds me of a Shabbaton we already had several years ago in Piotrków Trybunalski, where I looked at the people gathered there, way over 100 people, mostly non-Jews from Piotrków, but also dozens of Jews from around the world with roots from Piotrków, and also 10 or so young Jews living in Poland. And it dawned on me that everyone grew up hearing stories of Shabbos in Piotrków. Just some people knew what Shabbos meant, and the other group knew what Piotrków meant. And I said, this is an unbelievable opportunity to hear the other side. Same thing in Radomsko. Jews coming to Radomsko knows what Judaism is about, but don't know Radomsko. And the non-Jews living in Radomsko know Radomsko, but don't know what Judaism is about. This museum will be able to educate both sides, filling the gaps of education that each side has.
And not to forget that Radomsko was the third Chassidut before World War II, after Alexander and Guerre, and that Tiferet Shlomo is one of the most fundamental books of the Chassidut, all Chassidut in the world, that the most studied, etc. So what about the shul of Tiferet Shlomo? Does it still exist in Radomsko?
It would be part of a wonderful dream that this shul could come back to be part of the Kesselman Radomsko Museum. I can't think of a more important next step for this project than having the synagogue come back to be part of the museum. And that's where we need everyone's help. Everyone listening.
Right.
Everybody helps a little bit, we get it done right away.
Well, thank you. And also, not to mention the House of the Tzaddikim, which is just in front, that we could also buy back and to make it maybe a kosher hotel. And so to have a kosher hotel in the very center of Radomsko, and to go to the synagogue for Shabbatons of Yiddele memory. That would be great. With
Dream
your presence.
You should always dream big.
Bezrat Hashem. So, thank you very much, my dear Rabbi. And I'm very honored to be able to count on you every time. Thank you so much. Please accept this little token of Yiddele memory.
Thank you. Dziękuję. I to jest księgi psamy po hebrajsku. Takie małe, które mogą być na kieszeni, czego mogą modlić na każdy moment.
So, with the pleasure to see you again in Radomsko.
I will be happily there.
Thank you very much. Shalom.
Shalom.